Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Our topic of discussion today is oral cancers. This is a diagram just to show a very wide carcinoma of the lower lip and upper lip. A cellular system of oral cavity, human squamous cell epithelium. It has an important role as a barrier against mechanical, physical, and pathological injury. Now, very briefly, the anatomy of the oral cavity. Oral cavity, it extends from vermilion border of the lips anteriorly to the plane between the junction of the hard palate and soft palate superiorly, and the line of circumvallate papillae on the junction of posterior 1/3 and 2/3 of the tongue posteriorly. So this is the anatomical landmark. It includes the oral cavity, buccal mucosa, tongue, gingiva, retromolar trigone, flora of mouth, hard palate. So there is a high incidence of these tumors, oral cancers in India, France, South Asia. 40% of the head and neck cancer, they are these oral cancers, and the age of onset, it is 6-7 decade. The sex ratio, it is 2:1. The male and female ratio, it is 2:1. This is a diagram just to show the anatomy. You can see the different parts of the oral cavity. Pre-malignant lesions. There is a list of these lesions. You classify these lesions into high risk, such as erythroplakia, speckled erythroplakia, chronic hyperplastic candidiasis, and then the lesions which have medium risk, they are oral submucous fibrosis, syphilitic glossitis, siderobenic dysphagia, Patterson-Carey syndrome, and the lesions which have a low risk, minimal risk, they are oral lichen planus, discoid lupus erythematosus, and discoid keratosis congenita. These lesions have pre-malignant potential, and they can transform into malignancy. Now, very briefly, these lesions. What is leukoplakia? The leukoplakia, this is a chronic white verrucous plaque with histologic atypia, severity linked to the duration and quantity of tobacco and alcohol use. Occur anywhere in the oral cavity, lip, tongue, floor of mouth lesions are more prone for progression to squamous cell carcinoma. And then the erythroplakia, it is a non-inflammatory erythematous plaque, analogous to intraoral erythroplasia of Currat or squamous cell carcinoma in situ. Biopsy, it may show severe dysplasia and area of frank invasion. These are the diagrams showing a leukoplakia. The white patches, plaques you can see. And then the erythroplakia, these lesions you can see here. The other condition that is a pre-malignant, it is submucous fibrosis. There is generalized wide discoloration of the oral mucosa with progressive fibrosis, painful mucosal atrophy, and restrictive fibrotic bands. Individuals who chew betel quid, pan, a concoction of tobacco, lime, areca nut and betel leaves ultimately leads to trismus, dysphagia and severe xerostomia. 5 to 10% of these lesions they progress to squamous cell carcinoma. This is a diagram to show the changes in the oral mucosa. There is action of these betel quid. There is a constant irritation, chronic inflammation, activated T cell and macrophages at the site, and then the increase in cytokines, interleukin 6, tumor necrosis factor, and increase in growth factor, TGF beta. Cancerous lesion of the lips and oral cavity. The lips have squamous cell carcinoma, melanoma, and basal cell carcinoma, very rare. Oral cavity squamous cell carcinoma, 9th into 10th incidence. Verrucous carcinoma, the incidence it is less than 5%, low grade, slow growing, rarely metastasize with tendency to invade deep tissues. Cancerous lesion of the lips and oral cavity, minor salivary gland tumor in the gland lining the oral cavity, adenoid cystic carcinoma, mucoepidermoid carcinoma, adenocarcinoma, and then sarcoma. These are the lesions which are arising from minor salivary glands. This is a diagram to show this lesion. Incidence, only 1.5% of all the malignant tumors. So these are rare, but these are very common in India and Pakistan. Globally, more than 3 lakh people diagnosed per year, and this is at 6th number. In India it is very common, and it is comprising 40% of all the malignancies. So it is very common in India, and male and female ratio it is 2:1, and then there is a rising trend. The age it is the 6th decade and 7th decade. The most common age it is 6th and 7th decade. Most of the people are dying because of ignorance. About 50% of these cases they are presenting late, and this is very important. Most common site it is the mandibular alveolus, and the major cause it is the tobacco chewing. Majority of patients presented in stage 3, and majority presented within the 6 months of onset. Now the etiology, there are different risk factors. Tobacco, alcohol, ultraviolet light, irritation, these are the factors. The most important among these it is the tobacco and alcohol, and there is a synergism between this tobacco and alcohol, and this is very important for squamous cell carcinoma. This synergism it is very important for squamous cell carcinoma of the head and neck. The tobacco, about 90% of the people with oral cavity and oropharyngeal cancers use tobacco. Drinking alcohol strongly increases a smoker's risk of developing oral cavity and oropharyngeal carcinoma. ultraviolet light. More than 30% of the patients with the cancers of the lip have outdoor occupations associated with prolonged exposure to sunlight. And the constant irritation, it is another factor. Long-term irritation to the lining of the mouth caused by poorly fitting dentures. And poor nutrition, a diet that is low in fruits and vegetables, it is associated with an increased mouthwash with a high alcohol content. Human papillomavirus, especially the variety 16, it is very important, but it is the cause in less than 5% of cases. And then the Epstein-Barr virus, this is another important virus in etiology. Plummer-Vinson syndrome, immune system suppression, and the age, it is the 6th or 7th decade, it is old age disease. And then the gender, it is more common in males as compared with the female, and the ratio, it is 2:1. The relative risk factors for oral cancers, habit, relative risk percentage. If there is no risk factor, none, the risk of cancer, it is 1%. Betel nut chewing, if this is the risk factor, then the risk of cancer, it is 4%. Smoking only, the risk, it is the risk of developing cancer, it is 3 to 6%. And if betel chewing and tobacco chewing, it is in combination, then the risk, it is increased, it is 8 to 15%. And betel chewing and smoking, the risk, it is 4 to 25%. And if there is betel, tobacco and smoking, the risk, it is more, it is very high, it is 20%. So the role of human papillomavirus in oral squamous cell carcinoma, there is an association between this virus and squamous cell carcinoma, especially with the type 16, and it is commonly affecting young age group, male and non-smokers. Better outcome, more responsive to radiotherapy, and a higher survival rate. But the important thing, it is the risk of the etiology, the risk factor. This risk factor, human papillomavirus, it is only responsible in less than 5% of these cases. Inherited risk factors, association between the inherited cancer syndromes and oral cancer. Defective DNA repair mechanism, xeroderma pigmentosa, ataxia, telangiectasia, Bloom syndrome, Fanconi syndrome, and then the tumor suppressor gene defect, Li-Fraumeni syndrome. These are the inherited syndromes which are important. The relationship between ABO blood group and oral cancer, the people with blood group A has 1.46 times higher risk of developing oral cancer as compared with the other blood groups. The site of oral cavity, in the tongue it is 35%, floor of mouth it is 30%, lower alveolus it is 15%, buccal mucosa it is 10%, upper alveolus, hard palate it is 8%, retro mandibular trigon, it is 2%, and then the lips in the lower lip it is common 93%, upper 5%, and the commissure 2%. The symptoms. A sore in the mouth that does not heal, this is the most common symptom. The pain in the mouth that does not go away, also it is very common. A persistent lump or thickening in the cheek. If the swelling it is there for more than 3 weeks, it is suspicious. And a persistent white or red patch on the gums, tongue, tonsil or lining of the mouth. A sore throat or a feeling that something is caught in the throat that does not go away, and increased salivation, difficulty in chewing or swallowing, difficulty in moving the jaw or tongue, swelling of the jaw that causes dentures to fit poorly or become uncomfortable, loosening of the teeth or pain around the teeth or jaw, voice changes, a lump or mass in the neck, weight loss, persistent bad breath. These are the different clinical features with which the patient presented. In the diagnosis, the history, clinical examination, and investigations, they are important. Now, the investigations important. You take the photographs of the lesion. This is very important. And incisional biopsy, FNAC, orthopantogram, chest X-ray, ECG, and routine blood investigations, CBC, urea, RBS, hepatitis screening. These are all important. Renal function test and liver function test. Then the investigations which are important for staging. Here the CT scan of the neck and CT scan of the chest. The MRI it is needed. Sometime ultrasonography of the neck or primary plus ultrasound guided FNAC of suspicious lymphadenopathy, and then the PET, positron emission tomography for occult mets. These are the investigations which are important in staging while you are staging these lesions. And then certain investigations which are important if you are to reconstruct at the same time. Allen's test for checking the vascular supply to the hand if the radial forearm flap anticipated. MRA, magnetic resonance angiography of the leg vessels if composite fibula reconstruction anticipated, color Doppler of the chest, abdomen if deep circumflex iliac artery free flap anticipated, and CAD and CAM models if complex composite reconstruction, and dental impression for all maxillary tumors. Then the staging of this oral cancers. It is the TNM classification. Now, what is this T1? It is same for all the head and neck tumors, cancers. It is equal to less than or equal to 2 centimeter in greatest dimension. T1 it is less than or equal to 2 centimeter in greatest dimension. T2 it is more than 2 centimeter and it is up to 4 centimeter. And what is T3? It is more than 4 centimeter. And then the T4A Oral cavity. In oral cavity, tumor invades through the cortical bone into deep muscle of the tongue, maxillary sinus or skin, and in the lips, cortical bone, inferior alveolar nerve, floor of mouth, skin, chin or nose, and then the T4B involves masticator space, pterygoid plates, skull base, and R encases the internal carotid artery. So these are the T4A and T4B lesions. N stage, what is N1? Metastasis in a single ipsilateral lymph node that is less than or equal to 3 centimeter, and N2A, metastasis in a single ipsilateral lymph node that is more than 3 centimeter but less than 6 centimeter, and then the metastasis in multiple ipsilateral lymph nodes, none more than 6 centimeter in greatest dimension, and to see metastasis in bilateral or contralateral lymph nodes, none more than 6 centimeter, and then the meta N3. What is N3? It is a metastasis in a lymph node more than 6 centimeter, and then the M1. It is indicating the distant metastatic tumor. The treatment goals, these are to eradicate the primary tumor and the lymph node metastasis, to maintain function, cosmetic reconstruction. The factors affecting the choice of treatment, these are the tumor factors, patient factors, resource factors. The treatment goals: cure of cancer, preservation or restoration of form and function, avoid and minimize sequelae of treatment, prevent second primary cancers. What are these second primary cancers? The diffuse and chronic exposure of the mucosa of the upper aerodigestive tract to the carcinogenic substances, tobacco and alcohol, causes widespread adverse changes in the mucosal epithelium. The consequence of diffuse exposure is the development of separate tumors at different anatomical sites. These may present simultaneously within the 6 months. They are labeled as synchronous lesions, or they present late after 6 months or so. They are labeled as metachronous lesions. This leads to the concept of field change or cancerization. The patient who develop a first tumor in the oral cavity and oropharynx are more likely to develop a second primary tumor. It is 15% or so, and in total 80% of these are metachronous and 50% develop within the first 2 years. And the synchronous lesions, synchronous second primary tumors, they are uncommon. These are the factors, tumor factors. What is the site, size, location, multiplicity, proximity to bone, status of cervical lymph node, previous treatment, tumor grade, depth of invasion. These are the tumor factors. And then the patient factors: what is the age, general medical condition, performance status, occupation, lifestyle, socio-economic consideration, previous treatment. And then the physician's factor: no, What are you advising? Surgery, radiotherapy, chemotherapy, nursing, rehabilitation, dental, prosthetics, support services. These are the different factors which are important in treatment. Now, what is the treatment? The mainstay of treatment, it is surgery, then radiotherapy, chemotherapy, immunotherapy, targeted therapy, gene therapy. These are the other options which are important. The treatment of choice, for stage 1 and 2, the single modality treatment is effective and preferable, and for stage 3 and 4, multi-modal therapy, it is essential. The treatment for early stage T1 and T2, N-node tumor, wide excision, and plus neck dissection. High risk of locoregional recurrence, it is there about 40% or so. The management of N-node neck, high incidence of occult metastasis in the clinically N-node neck, controversy, observation or surgery, radiation, depend on the primary site, should have minimal morbidity. Elective lymph node dissection, if the risk of occult mets, it is more than 20%. Locally advanced tumors, the combined modality, it is the treatment for these locally advanced tumors. This is the classification of neck dissection, radical neck dissection, modified neck dissection, selective neck dissection, supraomohyoid, lateral, posterolateral, anterior, extended neck dissection. These are the different classifications which are somewhat changed in 2001 classification. These are the different diagrams to show the neck dissection, selective neck dissection, and then the modified radical neck dissection type 1, 2, 3. The standard treatment options for management of lymph nodes, radiation therapy alone or neck dissection, N1 and N2B or N3 are nodes smaller than 2 cm. A combined surgical and radiation therapy approach should also be considered. Radiation therapy and neck dissection, N1 2 to 3 cm, N2A, N3. Surgery followed by radiation therapy, indications for which are multiple positive nodes, contralateral subclinical mets, invasion of tumor through capsule of the lymph node, N2B or N3, one or more nodes in each side of the neck as appropriate, more than 2 cm. Radiation therapy prior to surgery when there are large fixed nodes. The surgical approaches, these are different: transoral approach, lower cheek approach, upper cheek approach, mandibulotomy, and visor flap. These are the different approaches for the procedures which are done surgically for resection of the tumor and then the reconstruction. The surgical approach, it is depending upon tumor size, tumor site, tumor location, proximity to mandibular or maxilla, and then the need for neck dissection, need for reconstructive surgery. These are the important points when you are doing surgery. Radiotherapy, this is another modality, and radical for early tongue or foam cancer, palliative, advanced, total control not possible. Combined therapy, pre-operative, post-operative. For small cancers, when you are using this radiotherapy for treatment. Post-op radiotherapy, the indications of post-operative radiotherapy, there is a long list of these indications: the presence of nodal disease with extracapsular spread, presence of involved surgical margin, excision margin less than 5 mm, stage 3-4, perineural or vascular invasion, poor differentiation, oral cavity primary, multicentric primary, and more than 4 lymph nodes positive, soft tissue invasion if there dysplasia or carcinoma in situ at the resection margin it is present. So these are the indications for post-operative radiotherapy. And then the other modality, it is the immunotherapy. It is based upon two principles: immune system should recognize and destroy abnormal cells. Tumor cells are poorly immunogenic and strongly immunosuppressive. Tumors don't regulate antigen presenting molecule, and the prostaglandin E2 produced by tumors inhibit lymphocyte proliferation. Cytokines produced by tumors inhibit lymphocyte function. Interleukin 2 stimulate growth, differentiation, and survival of cytotoxic cells. Systemic injection associated with severe reaction. Local injection in tumor. Short half-life requiring frequent injections. And the human cytokine mixture injected perilymphatically near tumor in clinical trials. Immunotherapy, non-specific active immunomodulation, BCG vaccination used to induce active non-specific stimulation of the immune system. The reports of increased tumor-free survival, trials with other vaccines, Streptococcus pyogenes, Trypanosoma cruzi, Diflunisal show no benefits in long-term survival. And a human papillomavirus vaccine estimated that 25% of head and neck squamous cell carcinoma are human papillomavirus associated, tend to arise in younger patients. Lingual and palatine tonsils occur predominantly in non-smoker, drinker, associated with a more favorable prognosis. And human papillomavirus viral oncogenes E6 and E7 are consistently expressed in human papillomavirus associated cancers, thought to integrate into host DNA, and when expressed bypass the regulation of cell proliferation. Both protein and DNA vaccines targeting the human papillomavirus DNA are currently in phase 1 and phase 2 trials. And then the targeted therapy. Anti-epithelial growth factor, monoclonal antibody. Cetuximab first targeted therapy to be developed. Single agent cetuximab confer clinical benefits in patients with cisplatin refractory metastatic disease. Then the gene therapy, add new genes to the cancer cells to make them more susceptible for killing by certain drugs. These strategies: gene addition therapy, antisense RNA therapy, suicide gene therapy. These are the different strategies for gene therapy. Recurrent lip and oral cavity cancer, surgery is preferred if irradiation was used initially. Surgery, radiation, or combination. If surgery was used initially, chemotherapy, but no increase in survival demonstrated. Other novel therapy methods they are tried. Prognosis, it is depending upon different factors: location, thickness, depth of primary, staging, type of histology, grading, presence of perineural spread, mandibular invasion, lymph node extension, and then the molecular markers. What happens after treatment? The other things which are important, they are speech and swallowing therapy, follow-up tests, chemoprevention, watch for new symptoms, general health considerations. In summary, the main problem of oral cancer is the early detection. Surgery is the still most important modality in the management of oral cancers. Better understanding of molecular biology of hand and neck squamous cell carcinoma by molecular markers can be used in the management of squamous cell carcinoma oral cancer, and there is a high risk of second primary cancer, and here the chemoprevention, it is important, and at the same time just to stop the carcinogenic substance that is present in that patient. And thank you very much for this Tuesday lecture.